You know when you get to that point in the story where your heart's pounding and you're practically yelling at the character, no, don't do it. Or maybe you're just sitting there thinking like, what are they gonna do? So that moment, it's the crisis. And when it's done well, it's the moment that keeps the reader turning pages and staying way up past their bedtime to finish your book. So today, we're diving deep into the make or break moment, the crisis. Now, I'm Tim Grahl, the CEO of StoryGrid, where we teach writers how to write books that actually work. I'm the author of 6 books, including my most recent, The Shithead, which has been praised by New York Times and Wall Street Journal bestselling authors. Everything I teach is built on the expertise of StoryGrid's founder, Sean Coyne, an editor, writer, and story researcher with over 30 years of experience in publishing. His track record is an 86% success rate in the marketplace, while traditional publishing doesn't even crack 35%. So if you're here to learn how to tell a story that keeps readers hooked, you're in the right place. So what is the crisis? The technical definition of a crisis is a binary choice with meaningful stakes. But that doesn't mean much. So basically, it's the fork in the road. Your character has to choose one path and fully abandon the other. Here's what makes a really great crisis and a very powerful crisis. First, the options are mutually exclusive. They have to pick one or the other. They can't have them both. Each of those has real consequences, and the stakes deeply matter to the character. And finally, the decision reveals character and often pivots the entire story. But let's go deeper, because understanding the concept isn't enough. You need to know how to actually build a great crisis. So we're going to walk through 5 core steps for crafting a strong page-turning crisis. And for each step, I'll explain the principle first, and then we'll apply it to 2 different examples. So we're going to start with 2 kind of blah, not page-turning crisis, and we're going to build them together throughout this video. So let's get into it. So step 1 is raise the stakes. If there are no real consequences, there's no real drama. Stakes are what make the choice matter. They answer the question, what does the character stand to gain or lose in this decision? And more importantly, why should the reader care? When you're building your own story, ask, what does the character value most? What do they fear losing? And why does this choice matter right now in the story? So let's fix some boring examples together. So example number 1 is Jane has to decide whether to go to a birthday party with a friend of hers or stay home to study for a chemistry test. So this is pretty boring on the surface. It's not really anything to care about. Why do I care if Jane has to go to a birthday party or not go to a birthday party, or study for a test or not study for the test? So let's raise the stakes. Let's look at what Jane gains to lose or gain in this choice. So let's say it's not just any test. This chemistry test, it's worth 50% of Jane's grade, and she's failing. And if she doesn't pass this class, she's going to lose her college scholarship, and her family has no money, so she's not going to be able to go to college if she fails this class. Now, her friend, this friend she's supposed to go to the party with, she recently lost a parent, and she's just been holed up at home, and she doesn't go anywhere. And this party is the first social outing that she's going to go on, and she'll only go if Jane will go with her. She needs Jane's support. Jane is her best friend. So now both options carry weight. Jane is choosing between her future and her friend's grief. Let's look at a second example of a bad crisis. A soldier has to decide whether to chase the villain into a burning building or wait for backup. So again, why should we care? We don't really know what's the pros and cons of either side of that. So let's raise the stakes. Let's say the villain has a hostage, the soldier's younger brother. If he waits for backup, the brother might die. If he goes in alone, he risks dying and letting the villain escape with critical intel. So now it's not just about tactics, it's about loyalty, it's about risk, it's about family, it's about sacrifice. Okay? So that's the first step, is to raise the stakes. Now, step 2, we have to make it truly binary. A crisis isn't a crisis if your character can wiggle out with a third option. The power comes from the two options being mutually exclusive. So you have to ask yourself, can my character do both? Can they delay? Is one option obviously better than the other? If yes, your crisis isn't ready yet. So let's go back to that first example. Why couldn't Jane just study after the party or study the next day? Well, we've got to constrain it. So we'll say the test is tomorrow. So this test that's 50% of her grade and she's already failing. And if she fails, she doesn't get her scholarship, which means she doesn't go to college. That test is tomorrow. And the only time she has to study before then is tonight. And so if she goes out, she will fail, period. Example 2, can the soldier stall? Well, maybe, unless the villain has rigged explosives, and he'll detonate in 90 seconds unless somebody goes in to save the brother. So now both of the scenarios, this action one and this young adult friendship one, have a ticking time clock associated with it. There's no time to wait. It's either go or don't go. It's either do it or don't do it. And this urgency forces action, and the urgency creates drama, which means the reader wants to know what happens next. And that's where you want them to be. So that's number 2, is make sure the choice is truly binary. There's no secret third option. There's no way for your protagonist to put off making the choice or not actually have to make the choice. They have to make the choice between the two options. So step 3 is adding layers to the stakes. So stakes aren't just about what might happen. They're about how much it matters at how many different levels. So you want them to matter at 3 different levels. So the first is external stakes. So these are tangible outcomes. Will you win or lose, live or die? There's internal stakes. So this is the emotional fallout of the decision. Is there shame, guilt, or pride attached to this decision? And then third is philosophical stakes. So these are big thematic questions, right? This is right versus wrong, selfishness versus giving yourself to others. And you have to ask yourself, what does this mean for the overarching plot? What does this reveal emotionally about our characters? And what does it say about the story's core values? So let's go back to our 2 examples. So with Jane, the external is, well, Jane's going to fail her class, which means she's going to lose her scholarship and it could destroy her future. And internally, she feels guilty about abandoning her friend in her greatest time of need. And then philosophically, is she someone who chases achievement over relationships, or does she show up for people when they really need her, even if it will hurt herself? This is where you can start seeing, like, these are hard decisions to make. Both of them are really important, and you could make an argument for both sides of that equation. So let's look at the second example. So externally, the brother could die. The mission could fail. Internally, if he sacrifices his brother, can he live with himself? But at the same time, if he doesn't go after his brother, he's risking lots of other people dying. And then philosophically, what does he value more? Is it his mission and faceless people that he's trying to save, or his actual flesh and blood brother? When you engage all 3 layers, the external, the internal, and the philosophical, the reader feels the weight from every angle and they struggle with the decision themselves. By the way, side note here, a lot of times I get asked about, well, how do you write stories that are not predictable, right? We've all read so many books and there's so many stories and movies and, all these different things floating out there. How do we make sure our story isn't just predictable, like the reader knows what's coming? The crisis is how to do that. So when you create these types of crisis that are working on all 3 levels, then even the reader can't decide what they would do in the moment. And so they're going to be surprised no matter what your protagonist ends up doing. So that was step 3. Make sure your crisis is working at all 3 levels of stakes. Now let's look at step 4. And we have to make sure that both choices are viable. If one option is clearly better, there's no tension. The reader already knows what should happen. This is what happens in those bad movies where you're watching it and you're just like, this is dumb. And that's because you're reading it and you're like, I know exactly what's going to happen because there is no real crisis here. And so you have to ask yourself when you're creating your own crisis is, could I argue for both sides? Could I argue for like, yes, this is the right answer? Well, actually, no, this is the right answer. And would reasonable people disagree about what the character should do next? If that's the case, you're onto it with a really good crisis. So again, back to our examples. Let's look at the first one. So does Jane go to the party so she actually supports her grieving friend who's lost her mother and she shows up for her friend in her greatest time of need? Or does she not go to the party and abandon her friend and stay home because this test is do or die, losing the scholarship and derailing her entire future? So you could see where like people would argue both ways. Both paths hurt. Both say something about who Jane is. And we can say that about example 2 as well. So if he goes in, he saves his brother or dies trying. But if he wait, he risks his brother's life, but also he has a better chance at completing the mission that will save lots of other people. So readers shouldn't be sure what the character will do, but they should understand why they might choose both sides of the crisis. So now let's tie it all together. This is step 5, and we're going to tie it into the character's arc through the entire story. This is where the crisis really pays off. It's not just about what happens next, it's about who the character is becoming. So you have to ask questions like, what is the core value or flaw that this crisis is testing in my protagonist? And how does this decision move them closer to or further from the transformation that they need to make? So in example 1, we could say that Jane's arc is about learning to value herself. Maybe she always puts others first and ahead of herself. And if she chooses to stay home and study, even though it hurts her friend, it's the first time she chooses her own future. Or you could flip it. Maybe she's too success driven, and this is her first moment of real compassion in giving up what she wants for somebody else. In example 2, we could say maybe the soldier's arc is about learning to let go of guilt. He's haunted by a failed mission that killed his team. This time, he does the opposite. He prioritizes the mission and loses his brother. It breaks him, but it completes the arc of his story. The decision should change them, and we should feel it as the reader. So big picture, why does the crisis matter? Well, a well-built crisis is the heart of your story. It's the moment where plot, theme, and character development collide into one moment. This is where the stakes crystallize, the tension peaks, and your character's values are tested. It's the moment your reader can't look away. And here's the thing. It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be this huge, giant decision. It just has to be real. What matters is that your character feels torn, that their world shifts because of what they choose, that we as readers are holding our breath because the choice reveals who the character truly is. So the next time you feel your story stalling or slowing down, don't add more action. Don't just throw in a cool twist. Look at the crisis. That's where you can find it. Raise the stakes, force a binary, layer the cost, make it impossible choice, and then tie it to your character's soul. That's how you write a story that readers feel. That's how you make it unforgettable. And that's how you keep them turning pages late into the night. Now, learning to do this crisis is pretty hard, especially when you think about how you build a crisis over the arc of an entire story. And so this is why we really focus on learning how to write great scenes as story grid, because here's what we found is if you can learn how to write a really strong crisis in a scene and you can do it repeatedly, you're going to be able to build a novel that has a really strong crisis as well that your reader cares about. And so that's why you have to practice this at the scene level. And this is what we do inside of our scene writing workshop. So this isn't a normal kind of workshop where you might, learn some stuff, and then if you write something, you'll just get some peer feedback. This is completely different. Inside of the Story Grid Scene Writing Workshop, every week you turn in a scene and you get expert feedback from a Story Grid coach that shows what you did right, what you did wrong, and how you can improve in the following week. What we've seen is that people that take our workshops make more progress in 6 weeks in our workshop than 6 weeks of trying to do it on their own. And along with the one-on-one feedback, we have daily exercises, we have weekly training. You get put in a cohort of other writers that are excited to learn this together. And so you build a community as well. So go to storygrid.com/workshop to find out more about that. So if you want to learn how we look at scenes and how you can become a better scene writer, go to storygrid.com/checklist. And I've got a free checklist there. This is the checklist we use inside our workshops, inside our mentorship program to help writers level up. It's a 13-point checklist on what needs to be working in your scene. And alongside that, I do a training to show you how to work with it with your own writing and level up your scene writing. So you can find out more about that at storygrid.com/checklist. Now, to take what you learned about crisis in this video and keep on going, I've got a next video for you that will take this and keep it going. It's on your screen right now. But either way, thanks so much for being a writer. Thanks for being a part of our community here at StoryGrid, and I'll see you next time.